A lot of people call me and ask to know the difference between going to mediation or doing a contested divorce. Well, really, there are a lot in common because in Texas, especially in Harris County, Fort Bend County, if you have a divorce case, a lot of times you want to get temporary orders in place because it's important to get rules in place that people have to follow while the divorce is going on, or you're going to have a final trial. Well, before the temporary orders and before the final trial, you have to mediate. Now, let's talk about the difference of going to trial compared to having a mediation. The beauty about mediation is this: you get to sit down and negotiate with the other side. You get to try to figure out something that's best for the two of you and your children. You're not relying on a third party to listen to you for a couple of hours in court to make a decision. Now, I know if it's a big custody battle, it may be a whole week long case, or it may even go to a jury. However, when you're in mediation, you are in control of what you're willing to do or not do. You're able to figure out things that may not be something a judge would do. For instance, if you go to court and you fight over custody, the court is probably not going to give 50-50 as an option. And a lot of couples, they want to do 50-50. So at mediation, you could do the 50-50, agree to it, and the court's going to accept it. However, if you go to court and you start asking for stuff, it's usually going to be a custody battle. So number one about mediation, you are in charge. You get to make your own decisions. And if the other party's not willing to negotiate, then you don't have to agree either. And then you can go seek the court to solve these issues for you. The next best thing about mediation is the cost. If you're able to settle the entire case in the first mediation, you can get your case done. You'll stop the bleeding on attorney fees because I'm telling you, if you go to court and you're having a custody battle, it's going to cost you somewhere over at least $20,000 for a custody battle, probably a whole lot more. Mediation, you're in the beginning of the case. You haven't expended a lot of money yet, a lot of attorney fees, and you can limit the cost. And these costs are good to save because after this divorce is over, both of you are going to have to go about your lives with kids or without kids. It all depends. And it's always better to start over, especially if there's children, with not exhausting the entire bank account on paying for two attorneys. So mediation helps you limit that, and it's wonderful. And I would say the last thing about mediation would be, especially when you have children, you have to work with this other person for a long time. If you have young kids, you're going to be going back and forth with a possession schedule until they get out of high school. That's a lot of years. But even though the possession schedule ends and the child support ends, there's still going to be birthdays. There's going to be weddings. There's going to be graduations from college. There's going to be a lot of things that you'll be going to. And I find that couples that work together to figure out what is best for their family moving forward, settle in mediation, those people are more likely to be successful co-parents after the divorce. And then the children are not going to be under as much stress. Now, if you're doing a big custody battle, there may be an amicus appointed who's going to go talk to your kids. There may be a custody evaluation. They're going to go talk to the kids. Your side or the other side may ask the judge to talk to your children about who they want to live with and what's going on. That's a lot of stress for a child. So if you can resolve this in mediation, leaves your kids out of it, it makes the possibility of co-parenting so much easier because you've worked together with the other party and you've settled in mediation and you can carry that momentum forward, and it would be a lot better for your family and your children and yourselves, everybody's mental health. If you can settle at mediation, it's a wonderful thing. Fortunately, most of the cases I work on settle, about 80% of them settle in mediation. So that's really nice. But sometimes people are unreasonable, and we're here to fight for our clients who we are defending. And if it's an unreasonable offer, we're not going to take it, and we're going to have to go to trial. And we're willing and ready to do that. As long as the other side doesn't get stuck on stupid, we usually can settle these cases. I hope this is helpful, and mediation is the way to go. And if you're struggling with deciding going for divorce or what the options are, just give us a call. We'll help you out with that.